All right. So welcome everybody to the first acrylic class of 2023. That is my cat back there playing with the lens right now. My name's Leah Kohlenberg, for those of you who don't know me. I run the roaming studio. I have been a painter for 20 years, and before that I was a journalist. So I kind of know a little bit about your jobs and what you do. And I really know how great painting can be and art can be to help, I don't know, kind of like to make life kind of more relaxing and fun. Although it's not like laying on the beach on a chase lounge relaxing. It's more like going for a hike relaxing. So be prepared. I want you to be okay with things, trying things and having them not exactly work out. I want to make sure you ask questions. We are going back to basics in painting. So we are going to review a little bit about color. We're going to be reviewing a little bit about brushwork, and then I'm going to give you a very simple exercise to paint. And I will paint it with you, so you won't be alone. Does anybody have questions about that? All right, here we go. Okay, so so here is a piece of canvas paper and sorry, canvas sheet, this actual proper canvas that you're painting on. Here is like a palette paper. I like it because you can throw it away afterwards. You can put paint on it. If you don't have that, you can use you know, a paper plate or something like, yeah, really anything. I don't like using things like wax paper or parchment paper or tin foil. It's kind of hard to pick up the paint off them. So you want something with a smooth surface. And we're going to start by talking just a, oh yes, and then you're going to need, I have here a cup of water. And I've got it kind of out of sight of the camera, so I'll show it to you if I need it. And then in terms of brushes, I want to show you the ideal painting brush for working in acrylic painting is this, at least in my view. It's a 1-inch craft brush or like a 10 centimeter, you know, or what is it? 15 centimeters or millimeters or something.
No. 2.5 centimeters.
2.5, thank you. 2.5 centimeters across. It's kind of ragged. But if you don't have one of those, I would say use a brush that's thicker. If you got a regular brush, use a brush that's bigger rather than one that's smaller. The tendency is to want to use a brush like this because you feel like you have more control. What's going to happen is you're not going to be able to cover as much surface. And at the very beginning, when you're painting, you're going to be working bigger, like sort of larger areas. So I think this is sort of the beginning of it is if you've got a brush, I tend to prefer flats. Not everybody does. So I have a lot of flat brushes of different sizes. This one is around, I almost never use it because I don't like the marks that it leaves on the paper. But a lot of that is kind of up to you in terms of you're going to learn and experiment with what your materials do. So does everybody have a fairly big brush? Excellent. Then we're going to talk about the basic colors. I'm going to put 3 colors on my palette, and you're going to want to do the same. We're putting yellow. Actually, I need to get my color. I'm going to put yellow, red, and blue. Does anybody remember what those colors are? What do they mean? What are yellow, red, and blue? Yellow, red, and blue. Yellow, red, and blue are complementary colors. Sorry, are the primary. They're the colors that you use to mix everything. All of your color mixing, and you'll notice there's more than one kind of red. We'll talk about what that means later. Maybe I will use, I'm trying to decide which brush I want to use this morning. maybe. I'm going to use this brush this morning. And you, by the way, have options when you're mixing colors, which I'm about to ask you to do. You can do it with your brush, but you're going to want to be careful to rinse your brush in between so that you don't have paint, right? If you're wanting kind of a pure color mix, you don't have paint on it. So we've got these three colors, and what I'd like you to do is just dab a little bit kind of in this orientation. So there's some blue. Now I'm going to dip my brush in the water. I'm not only going to dip my brush because it's still got a little bit of blue paint on it. I'm going to squeeze it with a little paper towel. Maybe dip it again. And then I'm going to put a little yellow up here. Clean out my brush again. And then a little bit of red here. I'm going to clean out my brush again, make sure it's perfectly clean. So what happens when you mix red and yellow? What color do you get?
You get orange.
The orange, exactly. So let's do that. So you can see here, I'm just taking a little bit of red, mixing it in with my yellow. I'm getting a pretty nice orange there. Maybe I want it to be a little bit lighter so it looks more orange. See how I'm even just mixing it on the canvas? If you go quickly enough, acrylic dries fairly quickly. If you go quickly enough, you can kind of go in while the paint is still wet and blend in a little bit more color. So there's an orange. And I want you to go ahead and mix that and put it in between the red and the yellow. And then when you mix blue and yellow, what do you get?
Green.
Yep, green. So take a piece of yellow that doesn't clean out your brush, take a piece of yellow, and then a little bit of blue. Make it green. Put that between those two colors. Clean out your brush again. I like to call this this little thing that's getting dirtier and dirtier, your paper towel, your blankie. You can kind of clean up a lot of messes that way. And then the last, what happens when you mix red and blue?
Purple.
Purple, yeah. So you're going to try it. If you have the color that I have on my palette, which is cadmium red, it's kind of a warm red. I'm going to get something that's a little bit more, actually, that's not too bad. I'm getting something that's a little bit more brown than purple. If you have the color that I've put, it's kind of an orangey red. I'm going to take a picture of this so you guys can see it. If you would like to, at this point, switch your, so not all reds are equal, right? Not all reds are the same. Some are kind of cool and some, there's they here. I'm sending this across so you guys can see very clearly the colors. So if you're not happy with this, you might try, if you have a quinacridone, you might pop in, you look here, I can put here a little bit. This is an alternative red. It's a lot less yellow and orangey and kind of cooler and more pinky. So when I mix that, with blue, oh yes, I get something that looks more purpley. And if you notice that it's too red, like it's looking too mauvey, just keep adding blue to the mix until you get something that looks more purple. I'll send you a picture. So when you've got this, send it across to me. What this is, of course, as those of you who've taken the class know, this is kind of a warm red. It's got more yellow and orange in it, meaning it kind of leans more towards orange than it does towards like true, like sort of a very pure red. This is quinacridone red. It's got a little bit pinker, bluer. It's cooler. So sometimes it matters when a color is warmer and cooler in terms of mixing. So when you've done that, go ahead and send it across the thread. I'd like to see it. I just sent you 9 here. Go ahead and send yours. Nope. Thank you, Louise. Yeah, on here, you only need to have one. Oh, I see. Yep, good. Looks pretty good, Louise. Looks good to me. Let's see. Nice. Very good. So, Anna, if you want to make this a little bit lighter, you can add a little bit more yellow to it. See what happens. And Louise, how are you feeling about your purple right now? Try cleaning your brush out, maybe even cleaning your water out and mixing that cooler red in with the blue. Sometimes like when the brush gets too muddy or the water gets too muddy, and in fact, I'm also, you can see my water's pretty already, mud. So I'm gonna go and quickly change it. Good job, Mateo. All right. Anik, how are you feeling about your purple?
Not my favorite one.
Yeah. So what color are you using, alizarin?
Yep. Next round.
Yeah, so I would try with a quin, a slightly lighter cool one. And with your green, go ahead and add a little bit more yellow to that. I'm going to go, by the way, you guys, and change out my water. Maybe even rinse my brush. Now, there's more than one way to do color mixing. You are experiencing the way I like to do it, which is to use the brush and kind of clean the brush in between. That's because I'm a rather impatient person and I don't have time to, like I'm very impatient with mixing my colors. That's neither good nor bad. That's just how it is. You might be a more patient person than me. If that's the case, you can use a palette knife. It's got a lot of dried paint on it. So the palette knife, you can actually do your mixing without putting it on the brush. Take a little bit here, right? Take a little bit here. And you can mix that way. See how that works. So palette knife also totally works. I mean, the issue with acrylic is that it dries really fast. It dries within a few minutes. So sometimes if you're too precise, it'll dry too quickly. So, but it's a tool. It's a good tool for using and you should know about it. And if that's your way, if that works for you better than working with the brush and cleaning it out and switching your water out, you should use it. All right. So mixing is a little bit harder. Annika, what red did you use here?
I'm trying another one. I used crimson.
Okay. Crimson doesn't really, oh, you mean quinacridone? You mean alizarin crimson?
No, it's naphthol crimson.
Oh, naphthol is very orangey.
Yeah.
Like you're not.
So now I tried cadmium.
Right. Notice what happens. You make something that does not look purple at all. And
yeah.
Your green needs some work. So I want you to, so notice one of the things I'm having you guys do very early is learn that mixing is not as easy as you think it is. If you want to get a good color, it's not a question of I'm going to lift up half of this and half of this color and mix them and get it. If I do like half of blue, right? And I do the same amount of yellow. I might get an okay. That's a little bit more like half. I'm more likely to get a color that's a little too dark. Right?
Yeah.
Not necessarily going to get the color I want. So mixing has more to do with if you've got, this is a light pigment and this is a darker one. So if you've got something where you want it to really read as a pretty green, you're going to want more yellow and less blue. That makes sense?
Yeah.
So it's not like, so take the lighter pigments, use more of them. Red can be a very overwhelming pigment. You'll probably notice that when you start to mix your blue in with your red to make a purple, you'll notice that your purple looks very red at first. So you need to add a lot more blue to it. So that's the kind of secret of mixing, is it's not this half and half thing. It's I adjust it depending on to make it look more right. So I don't know if you noticed, but I very quickly went in and added a lot more blue to my mixture to make it read more like a purple. Less pinky, more purpley. So I want you to kind of practice a little bit. Notice that though this red is not very, this light red is a cadmium red, this orangey red is not great for mixing purple with blue. It's fantastic for making an orange with when you mix that with yellow. That's because yellow is already present in this red. So the colors are kind of very harmonious. I know this seems so basic, but it's always good to remember because we're going to be doing a lot of mixing in this class. Does anybody else want to show me what you got, or are you feeling? Let's see. Yeah, so Prussian and alizarin and go. This is interesting. Look at you. So those are going to make very different Annikas, you know. Sometimes, and I'm not telling you not to work with those, but you know when you need a color that's warmer, that you need to go to warmer colors, and you're going to need some warm colors in your palette.
Yep.
Awesome.
Definitely.
Excellent. I like it. Francesca, your purple looks a little bit pale. Did you use more water or add white to it? I can't hear you. It's just watery. I can see it. There we go.
I was a mute. So yeah, no white, but a lot of water and a little bit of blue.
Use more blue and more less water. That's a fantastic glaze color, but if you want to make a darker purple, which you will at some points want, I want to see you create a purple with a little bit more.
Okay. And I only have not the cadmium red, but the other one. So I only have a red that is a bit cold, not warm.
That's good. That's pretty useful for this exercise.
Okay.
More helpful than having a red that's red. You don't want to get cadmium red though. It's or naphthol or something like. You want to get an orangey red, vermilion. Sometimes it's called. You want it, but you can add that to your list.
Mm-hmm.
Nice. Not bad, Annika. Better. What's the color that wound up working for you?
No, it was the other red, the crimson. No, cadmium, I mean, sorry, cadmium.
So cadmium also still has, and if right, you want something that's a little bit cooler. Do
Okay,
you have quinacridone red in your palette?
I'm gonna look for it. I'm not sure.
You want a crimson, a cal, you want something that's a little bit, naphthol will cadmium and naphthol will automatically make your colors a little bit yellower, your red's a little bit yellower.
Okay.
Right, so was this, so here we go. I'm going to the next stage here. So here's the next stage of this. I'm gonna use a pastel. I think that's the easiest way to do this. So here is our basic color wheel. These 6 colors, the 3 primaries, primary, primary, and primary. And I've heard this called several things. I've heard it called tertiary. I've heard it called secondary. And these are the secondary or tertiary colors. It just means that when you mix the 2 colors next to each other on the color wheel, that's the color that you get, right? So these are the basic colors upon which most things are made. And the very important thing about them, if you'll notice, I'm now drawing a circle around colors that are opposite each other on the color wheel. So we've got purple and yellow, we've got red and green, and we've got blue and orange. Why have I done this? Because this is the most important color information you're going to ever have for mixing. These are, for something to write down. These are complementary color pairs. And they're the basis of all mixing. So it's yellow and purple. You want to write these down and you want to remember them. Red and green. Blue and orange. So, oops, sorry, let me put this up a little bit so you can see this. Come on here. So the key with complementary color pairings, with the pairings of the colors is that if you put them next to each other, they will pop each other forward. Popping, meaning they're going to push forward. If you mix them, they will neutralize each other. So they will create a grayed version of the color.
Which you often want, right?
Yeah, which you want, exactly. But you often
Shadows.
think you don't want it at the beginning. You're like, I don't want any gray in there. I just want bright color. But really what you'll realize is that sometimes we need shadowed. So if you're mixing, like, if you're painting a red apple, to mix the shadow color, you do not use black. You mix green with your red to make a dark, right? To make a shadowed version of red. You'll see that if you put these next to each other and go ahead and try it, let's see. You can use a different brush if you want. A smaller brush for this next exercise. Here, here we go. I'm going to use a kind of smaller brush. I'm going to take, let's see. I'm going to do blue and orange. So I'm taking, if I put this next to each other, if I put this orange here, right next to the blue, I'm going to clean my brush out before I try to pick up the blue. I don't want any orange in it yet. See how vibrant these 2 colors look together right next to each other? This is why sports teams, like, and schools and
Or even Reuters.
Yeah, advertisements, right? What did you say, Sandra?
Or even Reuters.
Yeah,
Got an orange and blue logo.
Yours is blue and orange, isn't it? When you're designing logos, if you want everything to pop forward, you use complementary colors next to each other. And by the way, notice that when I did this, I also used the first of 2 important brush strokes in your painting life, and that is a hard edge. And what that means is that I have one color, and then there's a full stop, and then I've got another color, right next to it with, and I can see this very strong delineated edge. So some edges of your painting are going to have this, hard edge.
Ah, Diana. Hi.
Hi, Diana. You made it.
Hey, I'm just popping in for a short while.
Everything okay over there?
Yeah, everything is okay, but I have to go to work.
Oh,
Better, Annika. All right. So go ahead and create hard edged, making sure you clean up your pen brush very thoroughly between your the colors that you've mixed. So that's blue and orange. Oh, nope, it's not. Look, I didn't get clean enough. Here we go. Let's try that again. You might even use a different brush for each set if you want to. So here is yellow. Notice I'm kind of stroking up and down. I'm doing this paint up and down. If I get a little, this is what I don't like about little brushes. You tend to get these little ridges. I'm kind of pushing down the ridge so I don't really have it. It's not there. And then I'm going to do purple. Let's see. I need a little bit more. Acrylic. If you want to, you can use more than one brush to do these different things. All right. Need to mix a little bit more purple.
Yeah,
And-
I finished my links. Do you want to see it?
Yeah, absolutely. Hold it up. And send it across the thread, would you? Oh, Sandra,
It turned out great.
how wonderful.
did,
Can you
they didn't
send a
mess it up.
picture across the thread? I would, it
Yeah.
would be great for people to see this. Okay, so notice there's two ways to create a hard edge between.
today is
What's that? Oh, did we lose Sandra?
sorry, no, just talking to myself. I'm trying to remember which thread.
Yes, today is the Thursday acrylic painting. So notice you have two ways to create this hard edge between your complementary color pairs. You can go straight down like this. But if that feels a little shaky to you, you can also go this way. So I can lay my flat brush right against the edge of the yellow and pull back like this. So this is another way of making a hard edge. It might feel more controllable to you. So there's my yellow purple. I might either need new water or a new brush. We're going to see how this works out. And then I've got green. There's green. I'm just doing a stroke straight down for that. Ah, pushing this up. And then here I'll demonstrate the way to do a red hard edge pair. And you can see them next to each other. There you go. So you just lay that. This is why I love flat brushes. You can't really do this with a pointy brush. It's not really, you know, the pointy ones, like I have so few. I use them, but usually for detail work at the very end of a painting. However, this is the brush that everybody seems to know. Look, if I try to do this with a pointy brush, I can't. It's not so straight. See, I don't have that control. Just not that, it's not as solid as that like nice brushy color. So as much as pointy brushes are appealing, I think it's because they look like a pencil, frankly. I think that's why people find that it works for them more. So go ahead and create a hard edge pairs. I want these colors, these complementary colors to be right next to each other without any mixing. And I want to see if you can create that straight hard edge. I'm going to get a little bit more tea while we do that. Sandra, it's just so damn good. Fantastic.
Thanks, Leah.
Sandra. Notice that there's several points at which your colors get muddy. Your water might be muddy. Your brush might not be clean, right? Your colors may have blended together on the palette a little bit. I shouldn't have probably organized. I'll show you a better way to organize your colors on your this time. We'll talk more about that. Pretty good, Anna. I like, oh wait, here we go. Oh, sorry, you sent it to, oh, I added you to the wrong. Dang it, did I send it? You know what, Anna? I think I sent you to the wrong.
No, it's
My bad. I'm gonna send you another one. I'm sorry, there's 2 classes on Thursday. I'm an idiot.
worries.
Hold on.
I was wondering why I didn't see anyone else's stuff, but I just thought maybe it was
Hold
typing.
on. I think I can add you now. I think I can just add you because I've got you in as a contact. Let's see. There we are. Excellent. Okay, yeah, you won't see any of the new ones. Go ahead and send that across the thread of the one I just added you to. And I'll take you off figure drawing because unfortunately, you will not be able to jump into that group. There you go. How's she doing, guys? The newbie.
Good.
I think
Yeah.
so too. I think so too. Fabulous. Good. I like seeing this. Interesting. Very nice. And pretty good use of hard edges. So you'll notice in paintings, there are areas where hard edges are important. However, more often, you're going to be using something called soft edges or blended. I am going to start. Let's see. I'm going to start by demonstrating how to do. So I want you to do 2 things. There you go, Annika. Very nice. Good hard edges. Excellent. Excellent. So most things, there is going to be a change from light to dark, but it's not going to be so hard. It's going to be a little bit softer. So let's work on, I'm going to show you how to do a soft edge. So I start the same, right? I add some paint here. And then I'm going to add some green here. I can start the same, but instead of keeping that edge hard, I'm going to start pushing. I don't want this to read as a hard line. So can you see how I'm kind of tapping? Both vertically, horizontally. That is a soft edge. A little bit hard around me. It's a little bit hard where one color meets the other. So there's 2 things happening here that are really important. One is to notice that there's a shift from the red to the green. There's kind of a middle color. That is the gray neutral, right, that you make in between. Also notice there's no hard line. But also notice there's a very clear transition. So it's almost like you've got 3 colors now. You've got each primary on either side and this soft mass in the middle that is the shadow. That is the sort of the neutralized version of the red and green when they mix together. So practice making soft edges with your complementary colors. If these are still wet, you can try just pushing across like I just did. Notice that when one is like a significantly darker than the other, it's a little trickier. You have to work a little bit harder to get a soft edge. I just basically pushed that hard edge out into the yellow more. So now I'm like kind of pulling that. See how I'm softening? What I'm wanting is a soft, there's a distinct difference between that and what's happening above. I'll do it with my blue as well. So it's almost like you're pushing it and tapping more than you're strongly brushing. When you strongly brush, I've just done it again. And I actually need a little bit more wet orange because by now my orange is dried. So see, I just actually loaded up some more orange on my brush. There we go. This is the knit and purl of the art world, of the painting world. Good, Louise. Good. Excellent, Francesca. Excellent. So now let's try blending. You can make new edges, right? Like I did over here. You can see if you can get the ones that you just laid down to work. Soft edges are key. Almost everything that we paint, our painting project today is going to be a soft edge. I can already see I need a good piece of canvas sheet, so I'm going to get that.
If I want to do a soft edge between blue and orange, is it the same like to put some blue, more blue on the orange, or shall I use the orange on the blue? Is it the same or?
Well, you tell me, try it.
Okay.
What happens? Great question. Now I want you to see. The answer will be interesting. Remember that if you're using your brush and you're bringing these colors over, it's key that you clean your brush in between, maybe switch your water out. So Francesca, the general answer to this is they do different things. So it kind of depends on what's happening in the painting. It's an interesting, she went good. So for those of you who are doing this before, who've done this before, great, Anik, looks great. Do a little bit more soft edging. Your blue is your blue and orange soft edge is okay, but it looks to me like you kind of scooted the blue just a little bit further.
I have the impression that one was too wet. Just I don't remember which one.
So Louise, you've done that same thing. Essentially, you haven't, this is what you've done. You haven't created a soft edge. You've just pushed your edge over. Can you see like this? So you need to like do a little bit more. I'm tapping. I'm tapping it. I want that edge softened. I don't want it so hard. So it doesn't do, it's not enough to just push the line over, to push one color over into the other. You actually have to change your brush stroke to make the soft edge. Sometimes your one side dries, so it won't mix enough. So I need to bring more of that one side color that's dried in. I can even use my finger. Did you see how I was using my finger? That's a very automatic thing for me to do. It's not an exact science. Hey, Diana, are you still here, by the way?
Yeah, I'm here.
Great new LA Press Club guy, Jonathan Fong. Do you know him?
No, but I don't know everyone.
He is really fantastic. I think he's going to be a wonderful addition. He joined us on Tuesday. He was totally excited by all of it.
Where does he work?
He works for he's the art director for the Jewish
Journal?
Yeah,
Okay,
art director for the Jewish Journal.
cool.
Yeah, it was good job. Your recruiting did well.
Good, good, good.
Yes, and we got a new person in this class, Anna McKenzie, Scottish, living in Gdansk, Poland, recruited by Anik, her trainer. We're very happy to have new people
Cool.
here always. We're a cozy group. These classes, I don't like to get bigger than like 15 or 20 people at the very most. If they do get too big, I will split them up. I'll offer more opportunity. I'll do another Europe class so that because we want the classes. I'm not. These classes aren't taught in the way that you are allowed to hide. You're going to be seen and known.
Oh,
Not everybody likes that. I mean, in truth, if you don't want to be seen, you don't have to, but you will hopefully want to because it's a nice, cozy group and we are friendly. We know each other well. Some of us have been painting together for years. Anna, you'll be joining in and painting for years with us, we hope.
Yes.
Yes. So it's a wonderful thing. You'll notice some people on this group, like Sandra and Diana, are actually working on their own thing, which is also totally acceptable. It's great, actually, so we can see what other people do. Better, Louise.
Right now, I'm just making a mess.
I still see a straight line. So I want you to try this. Tap with a little bit of a wet brush. Tap over in, see? Try tapping. You're still too uniform, too neat. Notice also that if your paint dries, if one side dries and the other is wet, so let's see. Where is that happening? Ah, that's happening here. So my blue side is completely dry. So when I push my red over, it has a slightly different effect. We call that dry brush, which means that I'm kind of blending wet paint over dry paint. It has a different look. I can still see the edge of the blue, so I'm putting more red paint on it so I can get rid of that line a little bit more, which is different than if both sides are wet. If both sides are wet, you can see that this red is a little bit brighter right over the blue because they're not mixing. One is on top of the other. So this is having more of a popping forward effect, but on this side where the wet orange mixed with the wet blue, there's a little bit more of a grade neutral effect. So if you're wanting to create the edge that's kind of gray and neutral, both sides are going to need to be wet. If you're wanting to do a kind of more dramatic one color over the other and let some of that color come through, one side should be dry. And then you'll be doing what's called dry brush. We'll talk about it. I don't expect you to memorize all this. I'm just trying to sort of talk to you about as many basics as possible. And if you're not exactly getting this right, that's okay. Soft edges are hard. It is like the essence of painting is the soft edge. So don't worry if you don't get it quite right away. It's a practice. You'll see that tools make a difference. The tools that you're using, the type of brush you're using makes a difference, right? What color, I mean, Francesca's like, oh yeah. What color am I using? That makes a difference, right? Which color am I blending in? That makes a difference. So I'm wanting you to just learn what those things are in this kind of neutralized form. I want to keep track of time here. We have another hour. So this is the first, we're going to spend our first hour. Better, Louise. Ah, there you go. Beautiful. Do you see the difference? Look at that lovely edge. Look at how the transition happens, but it's very subtle. Francesca. I think you are struggling, Francesca, with too much water. I think you need to use less water on your
Okay.
brush. Squeeze your brush dry so it's wet but not dripping, and load a little bit more paint on the brush so that
Okay.
it's not so transparent.
But maybe because also I'm using like a wood surface to mix colors, but maybe it's not good because
A wood surface? What do you?
Yeah.
Oh, it should be fine.
Okay.
It's because you're using too much water.
Okay.
Yeah, but that's strange because wood sucks off water.
Yeah, it's
Yeah, but I'm
so
also using paper and I'm not using a canvas.
well, that's part of the problem. You need to
Yeah.
get
Okay.
canvas sheets. So make sure you do
Okay.
that. What
Okay.
kind of paper? Yeah, that's part of the
Now
problem.
I should have a canvas. Let me take. I should have one somewhere.
Yes, why don't you go grab it? I think you're gonna
Uh,
find a big difference. So
yeah.
this is the materials question, right? Like this is pure materials. Ugh. So good. Sandra, what are you working on now? Oh, she went off to potty feed the cat.
Aurelia, I'm probably going to jump off.
Okay, fabulous
But-
work today, Sandra.
Thank you. I'll see you tomorrow. Tomorrow is an hour earlier, right?
No tomorrow. I mean, yes,
Oh,
I'll
okay.
see you tomorrow. I will be on tomorrow. Yes, for painting. No class tomorrow.
There's no class. Oh, okay. Cool.
This is the class.
Yeah.
But
Because
Yeah,
tomorrow,
I'll see you
thought
tomorrow,
see, I
Sandra.
thought tomorrow was Saturday. I'm muddled now.
oh yeah,
Okay,
no.
got it.
Saturday
it.
pastels, but I'll be on tomorrow if you want to. Thanks.
Okay. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Ciao. Ciao,
Right.
Sandra.
By the way, what we're talking about is we're just meeting and painting together on this thread. You're welcome to join. Not bad, Annika. Nice. Nice. I see that you figured out that more paint is a little bit better. So the challenge here is you're using piles of paint, but you also don't want it to dry in these uneven ridges unless that's what you're going for, right?
Okay.
So can you smooth it out a little bit by tapping, taking your brush and tapping?
Yeah.
I suspect your brush is too small, and that's why you're getting these little piles of paint.
Okay.
If you look here and you see, I'll show you the difference. I have a big brush here, right? If I take my big brush and I draw paint, it's much smoother. If I take a little brush, see how I get little ridges?
Yeah.
On the edge. Little brushes create ridges, which you then either have to get rid of or incorporate. Big brushes are smoother. So big brushes are helpful in that way. Oh, this is really good. We're going to spend another 5 or 10 minutes working in this way. And then we're going to move on to today's painting assignments. And actually, while you're doing that, I'm going to take a couple of pictures. Oh, here it is. Okay. I'm sending you over. Just don't worry about it right now. I'll explain it. I'm sending you over. I can't find the paint version of this, so I'm going to send you over the drawing version of our practice. I like this because it kind of brings us back. So those of you who have been painting for a while, are you finding this helpful? Is this helpful? Yeah. Well, you go ahead. Sorry. Is it helpful?
Yes.
Yes. Tell me why. Don't you already know this?
But knowing and theory and trying once is less than knowing theory and trying 100 times. Yeah.
Yes. So yes, thank you, Anik. So this is why Anik is a trainer, so she knows very well how principles get put into place, right? You can there's a certain thing that newbies like Anna are learning right now, right? Or somebody like Francesca who came into class in the middle of the year and didn't get these, right? You're probably going, oh, right? Or somebody like Anik or Annika who has actually been painting for like 3 years now. You're like, oh, so that's why we always return to basics, because learning anything is not linear. It's cyclical. You go in cycles and you're constantly returning. So this is why we always return to basics at the beginning of the year, because for those of you who are new, it helps you kind of get a handle on things. And for those of you who've been working a while, you're like, oh, that's why this is important. And here's how.
Or for instance, finally, I got the soft edge better than 1 year ago.
Yeah, right. Like, oh, that's what we're trying to do. The soft edge.
But you've been practicing soft edges in your paintings.
Yeah, but
Yes.
she's that like getting it. Oh yeah. Well, anyway, Carrie, I'm not gonna say.
No, but I mean, yes and no, because sometimes I have impression that I'm doing something that it's very like instinct based, not like craft based, and I've never know when the balance is right, whether I should go like kind of follow my gut or remember about the basics. Yeah,
You don't really
and I kind of
know, right? That connection,
yeah.
right? It's one thing to know in theory, but then it's another thing to go, oh, is this a situation of a soft edge?
Yeah, exactly. So this, like a checkup at the beginning that we are doing now, we did last year. It's really good for me because it's like kind of coming back to to this moment when okay, repeat and check how you progressed also,
Yeah.
whether you're getting it better or what it brings to you this year actually. So
I still think there's this point where you're kind of in the middle of a painting where at the beginning, particularly, you're sort of forgetting. You learn the thing and then you forget it in the moment. And then you're like, how do I get this? And you might get there, but you might not understand what it is. You may not have that. I just glazed with my computer facing the glazing station, and I now have little dots of different colored paint all over my screen. It's a mess. All right. So you'll remember, those of you last year, I'm going to take a break from this for a second. And I'd actually like you to take a physical break I'd like you to get up, walk around, get a cup of tea, use the restroom, get some water, come back to me in 2 minutes, and we will start the next step, next phase. Anna, these are good. Good beginning. Very nice.
Where were you, sunshine?
All right. I'm just getting a little bit more hot water. Okay. All right. So reviewed a little bit. Annika, I am going to. All right, so we have reviewed a little bit about the idea of primary and complementary colors, right? Primary and tertiary colors, how they relate to each other on the color wheel. We've practiced a little bit laying out these colors, creating soft and hard edges. Now I want to talk to you a little bit about light. So, what did I just do it? I know a really good book on painting. Honestly, I just had it in my hand. Oh, there it is. Okay. This is one of my favorite books on painting. It's an oil painting class, but I've always found it really helpful. And a really good book on painting is going to have whole sections on drawing. Right? We're going to have whole sections on drawing. So I'm not going to make you paint a sphere. Not today, but we're going to talk about it for a second to talk about how light works. And you'll see I've sent you a little thing down the edge here. So what happens is when light hits an object, so if the light's coming from the top left, the lightest area is this little kind of white, reflected edge that's closest to the light, right? So the light comes down here. Where it hits the object, there's usually a sort of bright reflective spot. And the area of the object is lighter that's closest. So once this sphere starts to move, right? Once it starts to turn away from the light, it gets darker. Notice it goes from medium to dark. And then right before it turns around at the darkest point, there's actually a little light edge called a reflected edge. What kind of edges are these in here? Hard or soft? From here to here to here to here.
Soft.
Soft. What's the edge here? Between the sphere and the background?
Hard.
Hard, right? So I'm not going to make you paint this. But I am going to make you paint this. Make you paint. I'm going to show you how to paint this, right? Notice how similarly, by the way, which direction is the light coming from?
From the right.
From the
Right.
right. Down like this. And you can see it because here's that reflected edge, here's that highlight. And notice that this part of the apple is lighter, right? And then as the apple starts to turn away, look at what happens. There's a medium side and a dark side. And oh my God, there's that reflected edge. Can you all see it? I'm going to send a picture across so you can really see the distinctions. So a lot like a sphere, although an apple isn't exactly a sphere, it's a lot like a sphere. Does anybody have questions about this? Does it make sense to you?
Yes.
Yeah. Sorry, it's a little bit fuzzy. Sometimes I have to work around. Give me a second. I'm going to get a better picture. There we go. We can also see that the shadow is going to the left as well, right? Which means that it's going away from the light. So I want you to take a pencil and we're going to start. Those of you who have done this for a while, if you want to do this part with your paintbrush, you are welcome. For those of you who are beginners, I think it's helpful to have a pencil. Do I really have a pencil here? That's interesting. Hang on. Got to get a pencil. Okay. I'm going to start by drawing a circle, kind of a perfectly round circle. And then I'm going to add kind of a bottom edge, which is a little bit straighter. Can you see this? It's like kind of curved here and there. And then I'm going to flatten the top a little bit. So I start with the circle and then I kind of add in the things that, oops, here, a little bit more this way so you can see it. You'll notice the apple is a little bit flatter. It's not exactly a circle, but it's pretty close. And this needs to come up higher. And there's that. And I can also sketch in the shadow. And if I want to as well, the highlight. So once you've got that, so I told you I wasn't going to make you paint a sphere again. I promised I wouldn't do that.
It's a good practice.
Right?
It's a good practice.
Yeah, exactly. You mean painting the sphere or?
Yeah.
It is, but people find it frustrating.
There
So
is a story about the Italian painter Giotto,
Oh, yeah.
who used to, when he went to like big rich people to show like to be hired as a painter for
Right.
them, he only like to show that he was good, he only did a sphere.
Really? I did not know that.
Not a sphere, I think only a circle, actually. And he was so good in doing the circle that it was like the way he showed how good he was.
I've never heard that story. That's fascinating.
It's one of these legends of the Middle Age.
Well, in the simplest way possible, you're showing how to create the illusion of 3 dimensions on a flat surface. Some things to notice about this apple. We can see if I draw a cube, right, like this, that the cube has sides, right? There's a front, there's a side, there's a top, there's a back, there's a side, there's a bottom, right? This apple also has sides. We are not looking at one side. And you can tell the sides when things start to get darker. You can tell that an apple is turning to a different side. So there's actually 3 sides to this apple, just like we can see 3 sides to the cube. They're just more, they're softer. Right? So one of the things that happens, I think, when we start to paint is we simplify things. We think, well, it's a round thing, that's just one side. Oh, it's also got a top. This is another side. And you can generally see when the sides happen when the light shifts. It's a helpful way to think that this is 4 sides. This is 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. There are 4 sides to that apple. So when you've got it, go ahead and send it over. So we're going to be able to practice both our color mixing and our hard and soft edges. For this exercise, if you have a paint that's a pre-mixed green, you don't need to mix your own green. You can use that.
Lucky you.
Maybe you have Viridian green. Maybe you have phthalo green. This exercise will work with a light green. So if you've got a green that's like this color, it probably won't work. And you can play around with your reds. It's interesting to look at this apple to see, is it a cooler red or a warmer red? There's a lot of pink tones in the apple. I think I might try mixing a cool and a warm. I'm going to start maybe with pink. We are not going to, today, because I don't want to overload you, we are not going to, don't go too fast there, babes. And your hard edges are, and your edges are way too hard. Way too hard there as a transition. But do you know? Yeah.
It looks like cherry, so.
Yeah, so shape is important, right?
Yep. Yep.
It's a little bit too wide. Should be a little bit.
Mhm.
Don't rush
Mhm.
this exercise. Don't rush.
I mean, I did it without a pencil drawing, so I was just curious.
Right. To see how it would go.
Mhm.
Anna, not bad. Good. Excellent. Francesca, great. Francesca, look at how, wait, I want you, look at this shape here.
Mm.
Pay attention to that top shape. Right, there's actually, this is kind of the yellowy part here. It's not like just a little line that goes straight across like that. Although I kind of drew it that way here. How's that? I'll correct mine a little bit more. There you go. Not bad. Yeah, Anik, as an example, terrific. Of how that works. I think you should just keep building on it. So we are now doing something that those of you who are used to working are doing. We're not doing a base because I just don't want to overload everybody. So let's see what happens. I'm going to pull. Where is my palette? Hello, there you are. And actually, I don't have a tube for this quinacridone, this pinky color, so I'm gonna pull it out with a palette. And I'm gonna add a little, what do I have here? I must have Viridian somewhere. I have a little Viridian green to my palette. I'm gonna use this yellow and orange, I think, and I might even use the cadmium red. This is dark green. I'm going to need a little bit of white. But I'll deal with that later. And sorry, Anik, I should have said I like the beginnings of this. I like seeing you go fast and see what you can do. I often will go straight. This is a character flaw of mine. I have a very analytical and practical mind. So my mind goes straight to the thing that's wrong first. I will often say, oh, this is what's wrong before saying this is what's right. Don't get your feelings hurt about that. If I hurt your feelings, tell me. It's not my intention. I try to train myself, but I don't always remember. Okay, so here are the colors I'm gonna use. These. And let's see. I'm going to start by painting. And I'm not going to start by painting my white dot. I'm going to start by painting what's underneath it. If I was in watercolor, I would have to preserve this area. I wouldn't be able to paint it. But in acrylic painting, I can actually, and I'm mixing a bit of quinacridone. See how this looks. I'm mixing a bit of pink. A little bit. I'm not worried about this extra. I can cover that up later. Kind of like that as a base. I may go over it with a different color later. There's a bit of kind of orange, so I'm taking a little yellow on top here. That's more of a hard edge thing. And now I'm going to take some green and mix it with my red. I'm going to start by laying it down. And I'm like, oh, that's a little too dark. So I'm going to add a little more paint to it, light, regular red paint to it to lighten it. I want it to be dark, but not like super dark. Okay, I definitely don't want all that stuff there. I want a little bit more greens. I want two reds. So now I'm like, I want there to be a transition. Then I'm going to do more green. It's darker here. So see how if I add more green, it gets even darker? And I can show that shift between medium and dark. All right, now I've laid these out and now I'm looking, I'm doing that kind of tapping to create the soft edge transition. I lost a bit of my dark when I did that. So I'm going to go back in with more green, go right in on top. It's easy to lose. Starting to get there. I'm sorry, it's a little reflective. Let me switch to a smaller brush. What happens if I switch to my... Oh, and I can mix a very dark, I can mix a green with a lot of red with a lot of green in it to do this stem towards the top. Now notice as I added this in, it's darker than everything else. I made it too thick. I am not worried about that. I'm going to take a different color, maybe a little blue and some white. And when it dries, like it is down here, notice I can go back in, reinforce that hard edge and cover up what I painted before. Kind of nifty, huh? So I can, because it's dry, I want to wait till it's dry. So notice when you try to do a straight line or a thin hard edge, it's hard to get that totally. I can do this edge this way. I can kind of pull back this way. I have yet to add the lights in, the reflected edge over here. At the moment, I'm okay. I may take a different brush. Also, I think this shape needs to kind of numbers. I'm looking at the apple. See how I'm kind of correcting? I can correct the shapes of things. I'm not stuck. I'm using my littler brush. If I do too much dragging, it gets too light. I'm trying to drag the dark over. It's tricky. I'm going back and forth a bit. Is this dry yet? This is dry. So I might try blending in light with just a touch of yellow, not too much, but a teeny bit. Here's a question. What do you guys think? Is this white? It's not quite dry, but that's okay. I can layer it over with this. So is this white, hard or soft? Are the edges hard or soft?
They're soft.
Yeah, they kind of, it looks like it's strong because it's a very light compared to the red next to it, right? So it's a strong contrast. The edges are soft. They might have gotten a little too big. Maybe I'll blend a little bit more. Look, it got too big. Blending up with some pink. Oh, now I got too hard. So it's this kind of back and forth thing that happens. You're mucking around with it. I'd like to get a little bit more yellowy orange up here. I want it to be lighter. I want the top side to read as lighter. It's not quite dry enough. I'll wait a little bit longer till it dries. See here, I'm kind of moving around things as well. And let's see.
But your apple isn't round enough on the right-hand side.
Yeah, I'll get there. Thank you.
Sorry.
I'm working on something else right now.
Yeah.
I'll get there. I'm going to take a little white and the dark green-red mixture and a touch of white to lighten it. Don't want it to be light. I'm going to drip that in, little reflected edge on that side. It's a little, God, I don't know why. I'm going to, what is doing that? Is that this? Trying to figure out where that light is coming from that's blocking that's making things look so strong. Let's see. Yeah, that's a little better to see. It's like really dark in here right now, but I think you guys can see this better. See how I'm kind of adding in a little reflected edge there. Yeah. I'm gonna do, let's see. I'm gonna take a little red and green and white to make a shadow. So I'm going to do straight red and green, mostly green, to create the shadow color, which is very dark under here. And by the way, very much a hard edge. So see how all the things I'm doing are beginning to base. In red. I know that this shadow, once it kind of leaves the vicinity of the apple, gets lighter, right? So I'm going to add a lot of white. And what you'll get is this kind of pretty light gray as you add white. Up too dark, more light. Notice how I'm just scooping up light and blending it right in over the top. So all of these pieces have sometimes it's background, sometimes it's the shadow. They all have something to do with how we create the apple. I'm going to put a little bit more blue around the edge, and then I am going to go over and fix that dark side. I have to wait till it dries to really be able to fix it. So I'm kind of moving over here. Notice I have not painted this. I want this lighter. If I make this darker, notice what happens. If I make this darker, I kind of lose the edge of the apple. If I want the edge of the apple to stand out, I got to make it lighter. By the way, this is a hard edge. Okay, and now I can take my brush and make this a little smaller. You're gonna have a whole hour. You have a whole, well, not now, but I mean, like, we've got about what, like 30 minutes, really, maybe 35, because we started a little bit late. See how I'm cleaning up and thinning out using that technique I showed you to do hard edges? The stem. Okay, this is going to be interesting. I waited until it was dry. There we go. Now we're starting to get it. So up here, I'm using more background. Down here, where this is finally dry, I can use a little bit of orange, right, to lighten it down, to minimize it down here too. Maybe a little bit more. And it turns over a little bit. A lot of edge definition. Interesting how it sort of starts to come out, doesn't it? First you're like, this is terrible. It looks so dumb. And then all of a sudden you're like, wait a minute, as I work these edges, a sort of strange little magic starts to happen. Strange little magical thing happens. And all of a sudden, and part of it is I'm using the background at various points. Now notice I've sort of lost the edge here. That means that these two colors are too much the same value. So I need to darken. And I'm going to use that as well. Well, no, I'm probably going to use more red actually to fix the side of the apple on the right. See that? Look at how that starts to pop. There we go. Wow, it's amazing. It's like these little, so as you're starting with these kind of basic broad strokes. And now I'm going to go back to, I'm going to clean my brush out pretty nicely, thoroughly. And I'm going to mix a little bit of red and pink, red, the cool and the warm reds. See how I'm going right over the edge there? Kind of rounds out a little bit more. I flattened it just a little too much. I'm going with a lighter color because I really want this to read as light. Notice I'm kind of bringing in. There we go. All right. I'm going to I'm going to stop for just a minute to let my paint dry and also to take a look at it. I'm going to take a picture of this. I know you can see it fairly well, but I'm still going to take a picture of this so you can see it. So I know I did a lot of steps really fast. I know there's more to do. I'm slowing it down just a little bit. I want to make sure everybody's understanding the step A to the step B. And nice, Anik. Get a little darker on this side, but nice. I love the background. I like this little yellow that you've connected down here. Very nice. Don't forget your core dark.
Yeah, it has to dry because I just smudged it over.
It's kind of fun, isn't it? I think it's weird. I actually think it's kind of crazy. It's almost like a magic trick. I mean, you guys saw how this started. And paying attention to these edges, these transitions from light to medium to dark, mixing sides, the background, right? Lights, which are often lights and darks. I'm fascinated by how much that makes something. All of a sudden, it goes from looking flat to appearing to be, to being three-dimensional on a flat surface. It's a complete illusion. I'm going to take a picture of this just because I think this is really cool. All right, and then this.
Did you use black to do the shadow?
No,
No.
I don't own black.
Ah, what
I
did
mi-
you use?
I mixed. I mixed Viridian with red, and I used green with red, and I used more
Okay.
green with red. Yep. Never do I use black. You mean this down here?
Yeah.
Yep. Never do I use black. I do not own black. I will always mix the black. So it's a good question to ask, Francesca. So a very nice, you could also try mixing Anik's favorite color, which is Alizar and Crimson. It's kind of a dark, cool, maroony colored red with green. That also works.
Mm-hmm.
Try it and see. So it'll be, in this case, so here we just use little bits of green, right? Because we want this to look more like red and less like green. But up here and down here, we're going to use a lot more green, a lot less red. And that will create a darker, more rich. What I like about this too is that even though this is quite a dark shadow, it's still got a little bit of red in it, right? Which actually makes sense when you're painting, because the color gets reflected in the shadows as well as in the light, right? So that's kind of the thinking in that way.
And the rest of the shadow is
It's the same, just with more white in it.
okay.
Same mix, more white.
So green, red, and white.
Yeah, and a lot of, you'll see, I don't know if you noticed when I was doing this, I laid it down to definitely much too dark. So I immediately went in with a lot more light. You're going to need a lot of white and just a tiny bit of green. Yeah, so all this is painted with red, green, and yellow and a touch of white,
Yeah.
the whole thing. Next week, we're gonna paint an orange. And then the whole thing will be blues and oranges. Maybe a little
Oh,
bit.
I owe you my oranges.
Yes, if you can get me a good one, Diana, that would be great. How are they looking right now? I mean, how did they fare through the storms?
Oh, they good.
Yeah. Yes, if you can get me a picture of one, you know, you see.
Yep.
It can't be fancy, even though it's kind of boring. I think this is helpful practice and write a little bit more appealing than a spear because it's more incentivizing to keep going when you're, it's more incentivizing to keep going when you get something that starts to look like something. Spear isn't ever as exciting, I think. So for those who've been doing this for a while, what are you noticing? Are you observing anything about what you know, about what you don't know? Anybody? Well, actually, I'll just open that question up to anybody. Is anybody noticing anything about this exercise? What's hard about it? What's easy? What's interesting to you?
Soft edges are difficult.
They're really
Hard.
hard. Yeah, that's the practice. That's
And
the
also
practice.
mixing colors.
Yes.
It seems easy, but it's not.
The general tip I like to use for myself is that when I'm mixing like the shadow of red, I use more red and less of the complement. When I'm trying to make something that looks darker and heavier, I use more of the darkest color, right? You use more of the dark. So it depends on how you're trying. As you get darker, you use more, but you still, so it's kind of like, what are you trying to achieve? Here, we're trying to achieve a shadowed or red. So we want more red and less green in that mix. Down here, there's probably more green just to make it darker. By the way, you guys are doing great. Does anybody want to, I'm going to have you do this. Make your last strokes. I'm going to remove the spotlight for a second. Go into gallery view if you aren't already. Move from speaker to gallery. And I want you to hold up your pieces wherever they are. Hold up, stop painting, does not matter, don't worry. I don't care if it's good or bad. This is just a practice. Hold them up, yeah, send it across, but
Oh, beautiful, Annika.
yeah, right?
Well, I have other kinds of apples.
You can.
Very
Oh,
nice.
excellent, Anna, excellent, Annika. Francesca, great, yeah, you're getting it. Anik, excellent. Louise, not bad. Now get in there and add your lights, Louise, right? Go back in and reinforce your lights. So I would get lighter on this whole side and add in your reflected edge. Also get lighter on the top. Annika, pay attention to the shape of your light yellow on the top.
Okay.
Interesting to
Yeah.
step and see this. Look at the rookie. She's not doing bad at all.
Yeah.
No, she's doing very good.
Good job, Anna. Good job. They're all great. So it helps to do this. You want to show us what you're working on, Diana?
I did. I mean, it's
I'm sorry.
I'm reshaping. I'm reshaping, so it looks really funky.
I love it when Diana shows us. I'm going to spotlight her actually, because I want you guys to see how murky things look as you're kind of solving the problems in paint. Do you see how the features are starting to come out, but she needs some more hard edges in places, some soft? Look at the beautiful soft edges in the cheeks of her, between the eyes and the mouth, right? In between, and with the nose in between. Look at those beautiful soft edges she's got in the cheeks. Interesting, huh? This is exactly what you're practicing with the apple. Thank you, Diana. Beautiful. So all of these things just grade up. Okay, I'm going to pop this up again. Keep working. It's also helpful to kind of, is anybody surprised in a nice way about like what you've done? Anybody kind of like pleased about it? Maybe it's too soon to ask that question. We have another 20 minutes.
I struggle to understand how you mix the green, because in the beginning I was painting with just the red, and then when I started using the green, I felt like the whole thing kind of was off.
The green is used to darken the red and make the red into a shadowy color, because this red is not the same as this red. You agree?
Yeah.
This is more neutral. It still looks, so you're probably using too much green.
Okay.
If you want to send it across, I can tell you more specifically. Just add a tiny bit more red, and observe there's actually 3 transitions here. There's a transition from red only to a little bit of red and green, and then red and green to more red and green, right? So it's light, which is red only, a kind of medium where there's some green, but still red. It's darker here than here, you can see by the edge. And then there's another edge where it gets darker still. So you use just a little bit more green. So you add, what?
Sorry, did you mix red and yellow in the brighter side?
No, I just used a orangey red, which is cadmium, and a cool red, which is pink. I mixed those together. That's all I did. Yeah. You may need a little bit of cadmium red or orangey red in your light area to make it stand out a little bit more.
I'll try again.
The biggest thing you're having problems with are the transitions. It's probably more the soft edges. Your darks are taking over, and then you're not bringing in. So if your darks take over, if they become too dark, you need to add more red in, right? I need to add in more red on top and work on that blended edge right there. See how I just did that? I took a little bit, sorry, you can't see it. I just took a little bit of this light red here, and I'm lightly tapping it. Oh, I've got blue on my brush, hang on. I took a little bit of light red and I go in over. See that? So I'm lightening, but I'm still doing a soft edge. So you're losing, I think what's happening, Louise, is you're getting too dark, and then you're not going back in with lights to reinforce the light side.
Okay.
Notice you've gotten too dark. You need to go back in and reinforce the light side. It's okay. You get there. We have a lot of practice in this. I've also recorded this, so if you want to, in a couple of days, it'll be up on the thread. Anna, one of the other things you need to know is there's a YouTube channel with most of the recorded classes on it. It usually shows up a couple days after the class is over. You can go back and look at the class. You can look at any class. There's 2 years worth of classes on YouTube thread. So you want to look at it or try it or review it, you can. So just to be clear, this section, red only. This section, red plus little green. This section, red plus more green. This section, green plus red, more green, less red. I just walked away from my apple and came back and went, damn. If you're feeling frustrated with your apple, walk away from it for a second, come back. You'll probably be happier. You'll probably be more surprised than you think. We're going to go another 15 minutes, by the way. We started class about 10 minutes late, so we're going to go another 10.
I'm going to have to leave you.
All right, Diana.
I
we'll
have
see
to
you
go to
tomorrow.
work. I'm already an hour delayed to go to work.
Oh, boy. Oh, right. You go in today, don't you?
Yeah.
All right. Have a good commute.
Thank
Don't
you.
get out on the roads. And
No.
yes, if you could send me a picture of one orange lit
I
from
will.
right to the left, that'd be fabulous.
Okay. Bye.
Hello.
Bye.
Hey,
Bye.
Dora.
Bye. Bye.
Bye. Let's see. Nice, Ani. Beautiful.
Thank you.
So I think if you adjust your core shadow a little bit more at the bottom, the apple will look less like it's leaning, right? You know, it has a kind of awkward, it's a slight.
It does. Yeah.
Right.
It's a bit distorted.
A little bit. Beautiful. Beautiful.
Like, I mean, to make the shadow longer a little, or
Bring it a little bit this way. Right now, it looks
all
like,
right.
you see how your apple looks a little bit like it's kind of leaning a little bit too much to the right.
Mm-hmm.
Bring your
It
core
does.
shadow over to the right, and that will.
All right. That's fine.
Essentially, where this light edge meets that edge is where this sits straight on the table. So if you don't have these two edges here and here meet each other, then it looks a little bit like it's kind of, it's not anchored. If that makes sense. It's fun. And by the way, great job, you guys. Good job. It's okay if you don't get this on the first. And Francesca and Louise, feel free to take your reds into the background to kind of fatten up this apple a little bit, right? Yours apples are looking a little too crab apple-y.
Okay.
You can go into the, really look at that shape. Here, I took away the actual apple. Let me put it back. You can see it. You can see what's happening. See, take a look at the how, right? Like, even if you just cut off a little bit, it has a kind of a, there we go. I mean, and I kind of changed the shape of my apple just a little bit. Here, I'm going to extend out a little bit the yellow on the top. There you go. Look at that. That made a big difference in terms of.
No, I have to leave because I'm going to drive and I looked at the traffic and I need to leave.
All right. Have fun today, Annika. I'm glad you're still with us.
Yeah,
Great
no,
that
it
you
was fun.
come.
I'll take a last picture and then.
Yeah, please do. And keep working on it.
Yeah.
Send it over to us, right? As you keep working on it. Notice how little tiny changes can make a big difference. Okay, Annika, fabulous. I want us to say really, first of all, fabulous edges, absolutely beautiful. great transitions between light, medium, and dark. What you need to pay attention to is shape.
Yeah, I saw that. I just saw that.
This looks like a cherry. So
Yeah.
now you need to take your colors and extend that shape, right? Make this the actual shape that's on top here.
Yes.
Oh, Ani, great. But really good job with blending, which is what I really wanted you to work on. So now when you have time, fix the
Yeah.
shape. Ani, gorgeous.
Bye.
Gorgeous. Bye, Annika. Very nice work. See how that little tiny shift, Anik, made a difference?
Yeah. Yep.
Isn't it so funny? It's so weird.
It always is, and it's always this last right spot.
The last teeny. So what would you say you learned from this lesson?
That I can risk sometimes, and I can fix a lot of things.
That you can risk and fix. Yep. Absolutely.
And that blending is still something that I have to work on. And actually, I really wanna, because I learned a lot last year, but there is still a lot that I have to. So
Exactly.
we were,
It's a practice, right? So now when we go back to these simple subjects, you have enough, like, you don't have to worry so much about everything, right? Because it's not new.
yeah. And you know what? I noticed that I got better in mixing the red shades, the shades of red, like different variations of the red. But my challenge for this year is greens, because I have impression, especially when if you remember the picture of the mushroom.
Yep.
I still struggle with this picture, and I cannot like kind of invent the depth of the green in this in this painting. So that's my challenge.
All right, we will do it. That's fabulous. Francesca, I'm gonna try and show you. So this edge is way too hard.
Yeah, you're right.
So you want to really push it. Also, this has a little bit of, this is more like an orange on the top. It's got a little yellow in it. So that's what's happening up here. Red is mixed with yellow to create that.
Okay, but how can I adjust the edge?
You just have to go over with the red and green and the shapes I'm going to show you right now.
Okay.
Right. This is the beginning. You have to bring your red out to where those green lines are.
Okay.
See that? Not exactly. It's a little bit wobbly, but you see my point. You have to go into red with a little green.
But you mean to make it to change the shape?
Yours is like this.
Yeah.
We need to get that part in.
Yeah.
So you need to go over and also this is much too small on the top. It's like,
okay.
Right? So keep working. Anna.
Okay.
Fabulous. But I like the color mixing that you've got going on there, Francesca. So you've got that. It's just softening the edges. And I would also, it's softening the edges and getting this yellow bit in top and kind of bulging out here a little bit more.
Okay.
Very nice. Wow. Anna, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm glad that it looks like an apple. That's nice. I'm not sure if it looks like this exact apple. I think I mean, because I just kept going, so I probably made it too dark now. I think in this bottom left,
I think it works.
I don't tell the difference.
I don't think that's a problem. The darkness doesn't hurt it at all. You will want to get your little reflected edge in here. So get a little bit of light red in here. Just like that. It's beautiful though. Absolutely beautiful. This shape is a little bit deeper, right, than how you've got it. I mean, I'm just nitpicking. I think this is a beautiful apple, and I agree with you. It's not exactly the apple that's in front of you, but it's really close. And what's very beautiful is your brushwork and your mixing.
Very nice.
Yeah, the dark doesn't hurt it. It's just more darkly lit than this apple is. You actually, the dark kind of helps in a way, right?
Yeah.
Because it really
Mhm.
dramatizes the light and the dark. So it doesn't hurt it at all. Beautiful. We'll be talking about things, this thing that you've got going on here, which is really too high up. You've made it, here, I'll show you. It should be going kind of, it should be going kind of like that. You've made it a little too rounded, right? You see how I made mine flat? You made yours kind of dipping down. If you look at what's actually happening, it's actually kind of, no, that's not a good thing.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? This shape is like this. It's kind of down. It's kind of a straight line that goes down. It's not round like that, like you drew it. And you do that because you don't understand perspective yet, right? So you're trying to draw what you see, but that's not actually what's happening. We'll talk about that. That is a later lesson.
A cool
If I
one.
were you, I would try to jump in. If I were you, I would try to jump in to maybe one of the drawing classes too. It'll help, right, to understand things like perspective and shading and all of that stuff without the challenge of having to deal with color. But we'll deal with it as well in this class. I think this is a very good, let me make it very clear. I think this is an excellent beginning painting.
Thank you so much.
You did great. And I don't think it hurts that you went a little darker in the shadow. I think it actually helps. I think it actually makes it kind of more, and I really love this kind of rich middle dark, you know, the medium dark here, particularly as it kind of swings across here. Those are beautiful transitions. Very, very yum. All right, anybody else?
I just wanted to say that I'm looking at at Anna's apple, and I'm wondering what would be in the rest of the picture, honestly, because the colors fascinate me.
It's very
they're very drawing, they're drawing attention. They look very vivid.
yeah,
Really like.
they're very vivid and beautiful brushwork. So you're a natural, which helps. It helps with the brush. It helps that you obviously the brush kind of works for you, and you'll still probably be like, because this is your first go in a while, you'll still be like, what did I exactly do? I don't really know what I did. How do I know how to repeat that? I don't know if I'm going to know how to repeat that, but that's not this is just the beginning. And then we'll go back to this next year. By the time you've gone through a year of it, you'll really understand more thoroughly what it is that we'll reinforce these ideas that we're going to practice over the next year. Anyway, fabulous work, great work. Everybody, I'm going to remove the spotlight, go into gallery view if you aren't already there. Make your last marks for the moment and then hold them up again. And send them across. Ooh, so nice. So nice. There you go. Great. Great, Francesca. Yep. There you go, Louise. Getting there. Getting there. Yeah. Yeah. These are great, you guys. I want you to feel really proud of yourself. And I also want you to notice that if you don't like how your apple is, that is partly because your bar has just risen as to what you think it should be, right? Like you had no idea how to do it at the beginning. Now you like have a little bit more of an idea and you're hypercritical, but I want you to know like everything looks like every one of these looks like an apple. If you are like, I don't know how I did that, or I'm still struggling, we'll work on it. If you want to keep working on it, send it through the thread and I'll be happy to give you coaching a lot during the week. Next week, we're going to do an orange. And then the week after that, we're going to do a lemon. So we'll be able to practice this in kind of a simple way. And then we'll do something slightly more complex for the 4th week, which deals a little bit with perspective. So we'll have a little bit more drawing, but I don't want to throw that all at you right away. Anyway, fabulous work. Anna, wonderful to have you join us. Louise and Francesca and Anik, as always, it's a pleasure to see you.
Thank you.
Likewise.
We'll see you later. Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you. Bye. Bye.